and it's hot. So what do you like to do on a hot summer's day?
On a Saturday afternoon, I like to go out with my wife Lynn and ride our horse.
Go jump in a nice, cool pool.
It'd have to be playing golf.
I enjoy a nice afternoon on the golf course.
I like to play around on Lake Norman, race my Sea-Doo.
Race Michael Waltrip with my Sea-Doo. That's probably the funnest thing.
Golf. The pool. A picnic. Maybe even a concert on a Saturday afternoon. But what happens at sundown? When the full moon comes out, attitudes change. Now, where's your favorite place to be?
Race at IRP.
I like to get in that Busch Grand National car and race to the front.
Race stock cars. Well, I like to be behind the wheel, rubbing fenders with somebody, hooking and gouging and racing hard.
Love to come to IRP and race.
The hotter it is, the more I like to be in victory lane.
Joe Nemechek was in victory lane last year at Indianapolis Raceway Park in the Kroger 200 Busch Grand National race. Tonight, there'll be sparks flying, fenders crunching, and walls being banged as the Grand National regulars, including defending champion Nemechek, are joined by Winston Cup regulars Ernie Irvan, Terry Labonte, and Michael Waltrip, and some Saturday Night Thunder stars Robbie Stanley and Eric Gordon in the 12th annual Kroger 200. Stay tuned, it's gonna be hot. ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, welcomes you to sold-out Indianapolis Raceway Park. We're set to bring you all the action from the Busch Grand National NASCAR Kroger 200. It's a hot night in Indianapolis, and the fans are ready for some great racing. Good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to Indianapolis Raceway Park. It's been a few months since we had a Busch Grand National race on ESPN, about 3 months, as a matter of fact, and a lot has happened since then. This is the 16th race of the year, and let's take a look at the point standings as we go in. A former champion of this race, Steve Grissom, is the points leader by 63 over David Green. Robert Presley is 150 behind. Chuck Bound is 4th in the points, and a two-time winner this year, Ward Burton, is 5th in the points. And I'm privileged to be joined in the booth tonight by Benny Parsons. And Benny, this race always attracts a lot of Winston Cup drivers, and tonight's no exception.
And you wonder why, because at Talladega just a couple of weeks ago, it was hot, 105 degrees. A weekend off, you think these guys would stay home, relax with a swimming pool? No, they're here. And not only did they show up, they qualified 1, 2, 3, Ernie Irvan, Michael Waltrip, and Terry Labonte.
We've always had some hot finishes in this race. As a matter of fact, this year, with the exception of 2 events, the margin of victory has been determined by inches rather than seconds.
And this race will be no exception. The 2 races I've seen here, as exciting races I've ever seen in my life. Last year, can you forget Joe Nemechek? His mother almost had a heart attack. The last lap, he goes in turn 1, almost crashes, coming back to the checkered flag. It's going to be exciting.
The hottest driver so far this weekend is the guy on the pole. He's one of those Winston Cup drivers that we talked about. With more on that, let's go to our pit reporter for the evening. Here's John Kernan.
Well, Ernie Irvan is getting ready to climb in his car and go at it for 200 laps. You know, Ernie, the last time you were in a Busch car, you had quite a scary moment down at Talladega. This is supposed to be your weekend off. What are you doing here at IRP?
I love to race, you know, and IRP is a great place to come race. I really enjoy coming here, and the Busch deal's a lot of fun for us. You know, get to come up and not have a lot of pressure as far as points and things like that. So I really enjoy coming up to Fun Saver Chevrolet.
Now, last year, you had a really good chance to win this race. Something happened. Nemechek got by you. Starting from the pole tonight, is that going to make it any easier for you?
No, not at all. You know, last year I think we qualified around 8th or something, and just didn't get the right setup at the start and got it really running good, and then I backed in the fence all by myself. So got to work on making it to the end without knocking the body off this thing. So these short track races are tough for us Cup guys because we're used to just running hard, putting tires on. Now we got to be conservative.
That's Ernie Irvan. He will start from the pole tonight to look for his first win here at IRP.
John, if you'll look above your head, you'll see the American flag being carried down by parachute as we go to the mayor of Indianapolis, Steve Goldsmith, who's the Grand Marshal.
Welcome to the racing capital of the world. Drivers, start your engines.
The field is 34 cars strong. Here's the diehard starting grid. Ernie Irvin is on the pole in car number 4. To his outside is Michael Waltrip in car number 30.
Terry Labonte, row 2 on the inside. Ward Burton, as you said, won twice this year on the outside.
In row number 3 will be Todd Bodine in car number 34 and Ricky Craven in car number 99.
Here we see Tim Fiedler out of Michigan alongside David Green. This is a car that Bobby Labonte drove last year. David Green is driving it this year.
Cars begin to pull away now from the front stretch. They'll be lining up and getting the green flag for 200 laps of competition. As you look at the rest of the starting lineup, Rodney Combs and Nemechek, the defending champion of the race and the series, is all the way back in row number 8.
Shows you just what tough competition it's going to be tonight. Jeff Burton back in row 10.
In the 11th row, we have Chad Little and Nathan Butke. Row number 12, Jeff Green and Joe Bessie.
There's Mike Wallace, the third of the Wallace brothers, Rusty and Kenny in Winston Cup racing.
In the 15th row, veteran Tommy Houston and Troy Beebe. Row 16, Shauna Robinson and Sammy Swindell. The 17th row, the 2 Saturday Night Thunder open wheel drivers, Robbie Stanley and Eric Gordon. We're moments away from the start of the Kroger NASCAR 200 from IRP. ESPN Speed World is being brought to you by Smooth Busch Beer and Easy Drinking Busch Light. Busch, the official beer of NASCAR. By Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. By Suzuki. Your Suzuki motorcycle and ATV dealer has the ride you've been waiting for and the financing to get it. And by Allied Signals Pram Builders. You can pay a little now or a lot later. The field is on the backstretch at Indianapolis Raceway Park, getting set for the start of Busch Grand National Competition, the Kroger NASCAR 200. There's the defending series and race champion, Joe Nemechek, car number 87, the Venteen sponsored car, alongside was Rodney Combs. The pace car pulls in. The starter telling them to keep it where they are for the moment. Now the green flag comes out, the accelerators go down, and we're racing.
Now, believe it or not, at a racetrack like this, the top is the preferred groove. Normally we would see the cars on the bottom. Here at Indianapolis Raceway Park, they're right on the top of the racetrack as Ernie Irvin leads that first lap.
It's Irvin followed by Michael Waltrip and Terry Labonte. There's the tread cam. They go right over it, Benny. You got to duck when you pick up on this shot.
That is really scary as those cars go right over it. Steve Grissom, the blue car, trying to move up on the outside of Bobby Dotter.
Grissom's a former winner here. Back up front, it is still Ernie Irvin in car number 4 leading the way. Michael Waltrip a couple of car lengths behind, and then Terry Labonte is tucked on in his back bumper. And Robbie Stanley, car number 62, one of our regular Saturday Night Thunder drivers in sprint cars. In fact, he's the 2-time and defending USAC sprint car champion, is having some problems here in the early going and pulls it in.
And watch how these guys go in and go right through the wall. This is Michael Waltrip's car, the bumper cam on the rear as he looks back at Terry Labonte.
Waltrip running second now, beginning to close in on Ernie Irvin a little bit in turns number 3 and 4.
Look at that camera on the side of Michael Waltrip's cars. That should give us some interesting scenes before the night's over.
Todd Bodine is running in 4th position. There is Terry Labonte. And Bodine, followed by Ward Burton in car number 2. And then comes Ricky Craven, who's running in 6th position at the moment.
The blue car with a red patch on the hood, that's Ricky Craven, the DuPont car.
Burton has gotten around Craven now, runs in 5th position. There's Ward Burton in the Hardy-sponsored car and has done extensive testing on the Hoosier tires at this track.
Yes, he has been the leading contender on the Hoosier tires this year. There's some conversation about Ward Burton going Winston Cup racing next year with this team. And some wonder if Hoosier might be along with him in Winston Cup racing next year.
Third, fourth, and fifth right here. Labonte, Bodine, and Ward Burton. Now, of course, his brother Jeff is also in this race in the white number 8 car that we'll be watching. There's Ricky Craven moving in.
Bodine trying to take a look on the inside of Labonte. Right on his bumper.
Good tight 4-car battle here for third position.
Todd Bodine gets the car a little bit loose as he tries to get under Terry Labonte. He pulls alongside going in the corner, drifts up, and Labonte almost hit the fence, but here comes Todd Bodine, and he's followed by Ward Burton.
Burton also passes Terry Labonte. We're inside Ward's car now, so Labonte dropping back here from third to fifth as Bodine and Burton both get around.
This is going in turn 3. There we see a good look at Ward Burton.
Meanwhile, up front, Michael Waltrip challenges Ernie Irvin going into turn 1, and he gets the lead. Chuck Bound, by the way, has spun, but he keeps going, and there will be no yellow, it appears.
He spun coming off the second corner, and NASCAR looked but did not throw the caution flag, and there was no fluid down. Not really a reason for the caution flag.
Michael Waltrip now has the lead, taking over from Ernie Irvin. He becomes our second leader of the evening.
They talked about racing each other on Lake Norman on their Sea-Doos. Now they're doing it in 3,200-pound stock cars.
This is Michael Waltrip's 6th Busch Grand National start of the year, but he has 2 wins already at Bristol and at Charlotte.
And I think this is the car that he used at Bristol to win the race. As we see Robert Presley, Steve Grissom, and David Green running bumper to bumper.
And this is back in the pack, Benny. 9th, 10th, and 11th being contested here. There's Craven and Leslie, Tracy Leslie also battling. But here is the good one, 9th, 10th, and 11th. It's Grissom in number 31 to the inside of Robert Presley. And right on his back bumper is the 44 car of David Green, second in points going into this event.
Looked like there was a little contact as they came off fourth corner, but Grissom alongside gets the momentum, but can't make the pass.
Grissom still alongside Presley, but Presley fighting back on that high line. And we will be back with more from Indianapolis. They're the top 5. 12 laps have been completed. Back at Indianapolis Raceway Park and the Busch Grand National Kroger NASCAR 200. There is 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Terry Labonte, who was running third at one point, is all the way back to 7th, Benny. He's being challenged right now by Grissom, Green, and here comes Joe Nemechek to the inside of Green to take over 10th spot.
And we can see that Robert Presley's having some problems because Grissom and David Green both got by him and pulled away. And here's back to the leader, Michael Waltrip, trying to pull away from Ernie Irvin.
Waltrip setting the pace. There he's lapping Eric Gordon in the Kroger-sponsored car from the Jack Ingram stable. And he now comes up on Troy Beebe in car number 93. He puts him a lap down.
And he blew right by Troy Beebe, but he did lose some ground to Ernie Irvin while he got by those 2 cars. Meanwhile, Todd Bodine is still third. Ward Burton is fourth.
Irvin having a little trouble getting by Troy Beebe. Now he does, coming off the second corner as Michael Waltrip in the Pennzoil sponsored car continues to set the pace here by about 6 or 7 car lengths as we look back from the Park-West cage cam.
And now the sun is starting to go down. It's starting to get dark. I think visibility might be a problem for some of these guys before the lights take over, Bob.
Here's Bodine and Burton running in third and fourth position as they come up to also lap Beebe in 93 and Gordon in number 10.
Ward Burton might be the fastest car on the racetrack right now, Bob. This car is hooked up. He's got those tires warm. He looks like he could go to the front if he could just get by Todd Bodine.
He follows him through the second corner now, takes a look on the inside, going down the backstretch, but falls in behind Todd. Bodine with 1 win this year and 5 career wins in Grand National competition.
Man, did you see Ward Burton just turn left and go down on the flat part of the racetrack? Almost got by Todd Bodine.
Just can't find the opportunity to pass, though. As you indicated, it looks like that Burton's car is faster than Bodine. Look at him close in right there, but just can't find a spot to pass. Now, once again, looking inside off the fourth corner.
As we go down to turn 1, we see some smoke. That's Chuck Bound right in front of the leaders. But the car's still running, Bob. I don't think he has a blown engine.
Chuck spun earlier in the race. Suppose these problems are related?
I don't think so. But it looks like he is coming in the pits. Yes, he's headed for pit road.
Slows the number 63 car and makes the hard left onto pit road. Chuck Bound coming in. Let's go down to John Kernan, who's in there as Bound brings the Nescafe car to a stop. John.
Chuck Bound pulls into the pits. A lot of smoke. They're going underneath. What they think might be the problem is a leaking valve cover. First they thought it might be a leak in the rear end, but of course when they pull on pit road, they see the smoke boiling underneath the hood. Jeff Hensley and the crew will go to work. They're going to check around all the valve covers. Now they're looking underneath to see if possibly it could be a transmission problem, but just a lot of smoke for Chuck Bound as he sits here on pit road, losing valuable time.
Well, indeed he is. Meanwhile, on the racetrack, here is Waltrip and Urban, first and second. You remember 2 years ago, Benny? Chuck Bound was running up front when during the yellow he stopped on the backstretch. We wondered what in the world was going on. His belts had come loose and only a few laps to go, but he decided not to take the chance.
He decided not to take the chance, not to drive without a seatbelt, shoulder harness, stop, and lost the race because of it.
Boy, I questioned that at the time, and I'm still not sure but what I don't question it, but in retrospect, it probably was a good idea.
It was by far the wisest thing. And Tracy Lesson just blows by Jack Sprague in the Snap America car. And Terry Labonte, Bob, who qualified third, having some problems. He's falling back through the field.
Yeah, you remember Terry Labonte was running in third position at one point. He began to fall back dramatically and now appears to be headed for pit road for a pit stop. Indeed, Labonte brings it in for a pit stop. Let's go down to John Kernan to find out exactly what they're going to do to that car to make it handle better. John?
Well, Terry Labonte has kind of surprised us a little bit. He has pulled onto pit road. They've put on right side tires. Now they'll go around to the right side. Apparently, Terry must have felt a vibration in the race car. Thought he might have a tire going down. So Terry is now in for service. They'll also make a chassis adjustment on the left rear. They'll take out several rounds of wedge. Labonte sitting on pit road. Now he finally gets the car. Takes off.
That was a major chassis adjustment on Terry Labonte's car. As we see, Michael Walker still leading the race.
Boy, they just cranked and cranked and cranked on that thing.
And John Kernan got a little bit confused. I could tell that he was accustomed to being on the other side of the car because he called the left side the right side. Attaboy, John.
It began to sound like me there. So Labonte is back in the race. He lost 2 laps on that pit stop, so he's got a long deficit to make up. Here, by the way, is Ward Burton now challenging Ernie Irvan for second. Burton, as Michael Waltrip leads, Burton looked like he wanted to take second place from Irvan there coming off the corner, but couldn't get the job done. That's Shauna Robinson there just ahead of Ernie Irvan.
She's driving the Captiva camera car, and here comes Ward Burton. He has position this time, but Shauna's there. He has to fall back in behind.
Now let's see what happens when they clear Shauna, if Ward will make another challenge on Ernie Irvan.
Look how much better his car is getting through the corner than Ernie Irvan. It's amazing.
Once again, looking to the inside down the front stretch here. That's Todd Bodine back there in fourth position, not too far behind, and just behind Shauna Robinson. Burton again. This time, Bobby Dotter is on the inside, blocking the passing lane.
There's Robert Presley, Hermes Sadler, Larry Pearson. Hermes Sadler, a rookie this year. He was trying to pass Presley. Instead, he's being passed.
12th, 13th, and 14th right here. And then in 15th position there is Chad Little.
And the red car is Jeff Green. All these cars racing for position.
Now Hermes Sadler once again tries to make a bid on Robert Presley down the backstretch. That battle behind the leader, Michael Waltrip, who has a fairly comfortable lead here in the early going of this race. As we take a break from Indianapolis Raceway Park, there's Ronnie Silver, and there are the top 5. We'll be right back. Well, coming up next here on ESPN at 9:30 Eastern Time, Saturday Night Thunder. The USAC Sprint Cars are on the high banks of Winchester, Indiana Speedway. That's next, right after our telecast of this Busch Grand National race from Indianapolis Raceway Park. The leader is Michael Waltrip at number 30, and Ward Burton at number 2 closing in.
I told you if he could get by Ernie Irvin, he would go to the front, and he did that. And there's Terry Labonte losing a 3rd lap.
Labonte has had his ups and downs. The car is running better now, but not quite as good as he would like. Now we watch Burton go inside from Michael Waltrip's bumper cam, but can't take the lead.
And look at all this traffic up in front of these guys.
Once again, Burton goes to the inside. This time he may have it, Benny.
He's trying to pull alongside, but Michael Waltrip pulls back up in front of him.
Ward Burton in car. You know how this car was decided they numbered it number 2?
No. Oh, wow. There's Nathan Butke and Eddie Goodson making some contact off turn 4 right in front of the leader.
Wow, that was close. Well, his sponsor, Hardee's, their chicken was preferred 2-to-1 over the major competitor, so they decided to put number 2 on the car.
I got you. Now we see Ward Burton. He's hung behind Goodson, and Michael Waltrip trying to get by on the inside.
A good battle here for first position. Now Ward really closes in on Michael Waltrip, and oh, he spins! Ward Burton spins, trying to take the lead from Michael. What looked like a bumper went flying from that car. Our caution comes out on lap number 40.
Some car went by and knocked the rear bumper off of Ward Burton's car. And what a great shot of Ward spinning as he tried to get under Michael Waltrip.
There's a whole lot of debris down there in turn number 2 where the accident occurred. So Ward Burton suffers a setback here in his effort to take the lead from Michael Waltrip.
But he didn't lose a lap.
He did not lose a lap, you're right. The other cars come down to take the caution flag. Well, let's take a look at it again and see if we can determine how he lost his bumper. Here he is. Oh, and he may have had a little help from Ernie Irvin.
Ernie Irvin got in the back of Ward Burton, and around he went. Burton goes back up, and Eddie Goodson comes along and knocks off the rear bumper on his car.
So that's who caused the damage to the rear end of Burton's car. There's Tracy Leslie just getting by without any involvement in the incident.
And Ward Burton able to get his car going. And there we see Eddie Goodson. He has knocked the air or cut the left rear tire down in his car when he knocked off that rear bumper.
Goodson brings his car into the pit area. And Ward Burton also comes in for a pit stop. Let's go down to John Kernan.
Ward Burton will bring his car in. They'll go around to the right side. No damage on the left side, just a couple of tire marks. They're going to have to pull away some of the sheet metal that's been on the tires. Now you can see on the rear bumper of the car how it's been just torn off. They'll have to push some of that sheet metal down. Now they're pushing it back up underneath the bumper. Ward getting ready, waiting. They're waiting him off pit road. Ward Burton is down and away. Ward, expecting to win tonight's race, has been delivered somewhat of a setback.
It's going to be interesting to see if the damage on the rear end of that car affects the handling or any other aspect of the running of the car.
I tell you what, that rear bumper would not pass the 5-mile-an-hour crash test. I'll tell you
That's
that.
for sure. So under caution with Michael Waltrip still in the lead, Ernie Irvin is second. We're at Indianapolis Raceway Park for the Kroger NASCAR 200. 44 laps completed, the top 10. Waltrip, Irvin, Bodine, Leslie, and Nemechek. David Green, Jeff Burton, Little, Jeff Green, and Joe Bessie. Just about to go back to green after a caution for an accident involving Ward Burton. Now let's take a look again as Ernie Irvin pulls to the inside of Michael Waltrip, and they have a few words. before we get the green flag. Let's see what, if any, involvement Ernie had in Ward's incident.
You ever see Ward Burton is following Michael Waltrip. Ernie tries to get alongside, just touches Ward Burton on the left rear side of the bumper. Around goes Ward, and here goes Eddie Goodson on the outside, which knocks off the rear bumper and cuts down Goodson's tire.
Both Todd Bodine and Tracy Leslie just make it through. There is Joe Nemechek, and he is currently running in 5th position, having moved up from a 16th starting position.
And I tell you what, I don't think I'll ever forget last year's race when Nemechek won the thing. His poor mother.
Oh,
I thought she was going to have a heart attack.
yeah, I'm surprised she survived that race, but she did. Saw her son win his first Grand National race, and then later in the year watched her son win the Grand National Championship. We are set for a restart. Notice that the lap cars are on the outside, as here comes Waltrip, Irving, and Bodine to take the green flag and to restart this Kroger 200.
And we see Terry Labonte on the outside. He was the second car on the outside. He is now 3 laps down, started 3rd. This is on Michael Waltrip's Pennzoil Pontiac, looking back at Ernie Irvin.
This makes the 5th race this year that Michael Waltrip has led. And he won this race back in 1989. Now here's Ernie Irvin going inside of Michael and trying to get the lead back from him, and he is going to do it.
And meanwhile, Terry Labonte, with those fresh tires, we saw him change just a few laps ago, a little faster than these guys. He's trying to get one of his laps back.
Remember, he is 3 laps down. He has passed Waltrip, and now will try to pass Irvin and put himself 2 laps down.
And talking to the guys before the race, they were all complaining about really fast. And there's a race for second place. Todd Bodine trying to take second away from Michael Waltrip. And all the guys were talking, Bob, about really critical tire wear as Todd Bodine takes over that second spot. So we can see that tire wear is a problem because Terry Labonte with the fresh tires has passed Ernie Irvin to get one of his laps back.
Labonte now 2 laps down. Bodine is second. Waltrip is third. And there is Tracy Leslie running in 4th position. In a good race so far for Tracy Leslie.
And taking a look on the inside of Michael Waltrip, trying to take that spot away.
Now Bodine is closing in on the leader, Ernie Irvin.
Never seen Mike Wallace back there. He's a lap down, too. Going by Shauna Robinson.
David Green in 44, Joe Nemechek in 87, and Jeff Burton in number 8. And there's Steve Grissom in number 31. This is 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and a good battle.
A good battle, side by side, and all right behind Shauna Robinson. Now they run Nemechek in behind Robinson.
Ooh, almost 3 abreast coming off. And remember, Shauna Robinson has been lapped. She is not in this battle for position.
And look at that group behind them. There we see Tim Fiedel on the inside in the black 55 car.
Well, Green gets around Shauna, so does Steve Grissom. Now Nemechek trying to. Robert Presley is also in this group of cars, so is the 25 of Hermie Sadler. Look at this.
Sadler, 3 abreast. As they go over the tread cam, I thought they'd run on my head there for a second, Bob.
Oh, man, you don't have any hair up there anyway if they keep running over it like that.
Hey, this is a great run for Tim Fiedel tonight.
Yeah, really. In the first 4th of this race, Tim has had a good show. Trying to pass Joe Nemechek. There comes Hermie Sadler in 25.
There's first Ernie Irvin, the second car, Todd Bodine. Looks like Todd Bodine is gaining a little bit on Ernie Irvin.
Michael Waltrip, meanwhile, is dropping back. He was leading not too many laps ago and now has dropped back. Here comes Steve Grissom to the inside to pass him.
And Mike Wallace, who I said was a lap down, has passed Michael Waltrip. Now Steve Grissom pulls alongside Mike Wallace. I saw some sparks out from Steve Grissom's car. Ooh, just turns right up in front of Wallace.
So Michael Waltrip continues to drop back here on the field. Leslie and Green now right behind him. 55 laps in the books. Just a little over a 4th of this race has been completed.
And we can see the Todd.
A big crash down in turn 1. Well, there are 3 or 4 cars involved. This is Eric Gordon, the car that's on the far left.
That car is Roy Payne that's just driving up on the outside.
Nathan Butke was also involved.
We see this car's on fire, Bob.
Yeah, that's Eric Gordon. That's Jack Ingram's car. Got Kroger sponsorship, one of the Saturday night. There is Roy Payne, who is rolling, but the left front is pretty well flat. Eric Gordon, as you can see, is okay. He's removing the steering wheel and climbing out of that car as the safety personnel come along. One of the safety workers helps him out. Jeff Green also involved. That was a red car down there in turn one.
Jeff Green, some heavy damage to the rear of that car. We see Jeff Green getting out of his car.
Eric Gordon, I should say, assessing the damage.
That's not a fire inside the car. That's one of the rescue vehicles' light on the top of it.
Yeah,
that's making that light inside the car. That's not a fire.
Well, let's take a look at it to see if we can determine what happened.
Someone blew an engine.
I think it was Jeff Green.
I think Jeff Green did blow an engine as he went down the corner, and all these fellows came along and got in the oil and just had no place to go. Roy Payne, some heavy contact. The Gordon car, heavy contact.
And there is Jeff Green, so he's out of the car and okay. So we can now account for everyone. Everybody okay, but about 3 cars probably going to be eliminated from this incident as Jeff Green comes over and says a few words to Eric Gordon. He's already got the helmet off. And now it's a long walk back to the pit area for Jeff Green. He has dropped out of competition. Back with more from IRP right after this. Bob Jenkins, Benny Parsons, and John Kernan back at Indianapolis Raceway Park for the Busch Grand National Kroger NASCAR 200. There is Ward Burton. Despite an accident that he had earlier, he's still out there. Several cars making pit stops under this caution. Let's look down and get a report from the Todd Bodine pits. Here's John.
Bob, Todd Bodine looking for a really good finish tonight. Now, tomorrow at Watkins Glen, he will make his debut in the Raymond car. He is replacing Dick Trickle for the remainder of this season. Todd says he'll also drive the race car full-time next season on the Winston Cup circuit. For the remainder of this year, though, he's going to be a very busy man as he performs double duty, racing the Fiddle Faddle car on the Busch Grand National circuit, as well as the Raymond car.
All right, John, and the always enthusiastic crowd here remembers a couple of other fallen Winston Cup stars, Davey Allison and Alan Kulwicki. Well, speaking of Todd Bodine's appearance in the Raymond car, it will come at the Budweiser at the Glen from Watkins Glen, New York, and we will be there live at 1 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow afternoon with all the action.
It's going to be sad not to see Davey and Alan Kulwicki up at the Glen, Bob, but it'll also be interesting to see how Todd Bodine is going to do in Winston Cup racing.
We review the top 10 for you here as we get set for green flag action and a resumption of this Kroger 200 Busch Grand National race. Ernie Irvin, Steve Grissom, and David Green, the top 3 as they come off of corner number 4. Again, the lap cars are to the outside. Here's the green, and we are back to racing.
And Ernie Irvin chose not to go in the pits. It looks like the cars go over the tread cam.
Like a little contact there maybe between Mike Wallace and Steve Grissom as they drop the green flag. We're riding with Ward Burton and the CarQuest cage cam.
He's right behind Hermie Sadler in the Virginia is for Lovers car. Obviously, you're not from Virginia, Bob.
Obviously.
Yes. But Ernie chose to stay on the racetrack, not take a pit stop, get on fresh tires. We'll see if he can stay out in front of some of these guys.
There's Eddie Goodson. Now remember, he was involved in that crash, but has replaced the rubber on the left rear of the car. And here's a change for the lead as Steve Grissom gets under Ernie Irvin and takes over the top spot.
Now Steve Grissom stopped the very first caution flag change tires. That's why he's got a little bit better tire than Ernie Irvin right now. Here comes Mike Wallace. He's a lap down, trying to get his lap back, trying to pass the leader, Ernie Irvin, and get a lap back in case there's a caution flag. And he makes the pass. Here comes Rodney Combs trying to do the same thing in that white number 1.
And look who's trying to move up toward the front and get another lap back. That's Terry Labonte in number 14. That car seems to be working well since they made that major chassis adjustment a few laps ago.
And all these cars now have passed the leader. If the caution comes out, they'll get the lap back.
Steve Grissom has won twice this year at Hickory and Milwaukee and is leading this one.
I misspoke. I was talking about Ernie Irvin being the leader. They haven't passed the leader because that is Steve Grissom, the leader right now. They've got to pass him before they get that lap back. falling back.
Yep, here comes David Green in 44, and Ward Burton also comes up.
And look, they're 3 abreast as they come off the corner.
Wow. This is some of the best racing we've seen all night. They're 2 and 3 abreast through turn number 1. Tommy Houston, Benny, is moving up. There he is in car number 6.
Oh, and Ward Burton almost loses it right in front of this huge pack of cars coming off the second corner. And Ernie Irvin is really struggling. His tires must be extremely worn because all these guys going by, and most of these guys, or all these guys that are going by, have pitted, they've changed tires.
Yeah, he passed up a couple of opportunities to make a pit stop and get some fresh tires, and he is suffering because he chose not to. There's Todd Bodine passing him. Joe Nemechek comes up, just passes him with ease, no problem at all. Now here comes Robert Presley.
That's Tim Feedwell that just went by Ernie.
There's Michael Waltrip.
He stopped this last caution flag and changed tires, as did Tracy Leslie. That's what they're doing in the back of the pack, trying to work their way back to the front.
Also, there's the 19 car of Tom Peck. Here's Burton, Green, and Houston as we go back and look at Michael Waltrip. He's involved in a good battle with Larry Pearson in 92.
I tell you what, there's no wonder there's 23,000 people here tonight because, Bob, this is very exciting and great racing.
And Benny, it's the perfect size track in my estimation for these Busch Grand National cars. 5/8 of the mile is nice and wide. They get up some good speed. Always a good race here at IRP with the Busch Grand National cars. And next year they'll be back here, but they'll also be playing second fiddle, if you will, to the Winston Cup cars who will be racing just down the street at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
There goes Michael Walton trying to get by Tim Feedwell in the black 55 car. And you wonder next year how many of the Winston Cup guys are going to bring their Busch Grand National cars race here on Friday night at the Brickyard on Saturday afternoon.
And you also wonder if Lex Dudas, who's a general manager here, can build enough seats to hold all the people. We have 23,000 in attendance here tonight for an event that stands on its own next year with all the Brickyard 400 people in town. Boy, they're going to be everywhere here at IRP.
There's Michael Walton, the guy who sat on the outside pole trying to work his way back to the front. Our pole sitter, Ernie Irvin, he just went on the screen. Has not changed tires. He is falling back. Here's our leader, Steve Grissom.
There is Steve Grissom, and there's the statistic I mentioned a few minutes ago. 2 wins this year, Hickory and Milwaukee, and he only led 2 laps at Milwaukee, but he led the one that was most important. The top 10, Grissom, Burton, Houston, Presley, and Bodine, Nemechek, Little, Burton, Leslie, and Walton. ESPN Speed World at Indianapolis Raceway Park for the Busch Grand National Kroger NASCAR 200, which is being led at the moment by Steve Grissom. But perhaps the story of the race so far, Benny, is Tommy Houston, who started in 29th position and has moved to 3rd.
Quite a run for Tommy Houston, and this racetrack, he's no stranger here. He won this race in 1983, 10 years ago.
He has started all Busch Grand National races in the modern era, that is since 1982. This is his 346th consecutive start.
There's Joe Nemechek right behind him, trying to catch him. Nemechek in 4th place. See all these cars in the lead lap.
Nemechek did not have a particularly good starting spot. He was in 16th when the green flag dropped, but now he has moved up to 4th place. He has not won a race so far this year. He had not won a race when he came here to IRP last. Oh, we got another crash. Troy Beebe.
Eddie Goodson, and there's Jack Sprague, some heavy damage to Sprague's car.
Goodson drives away. That's the 93 car of Troy Beebe, which is not moving, or is moving very slowly.
I tell you what, this caution flag was a huge break for Ernie Irvin, our pole sitter. He was almost a lap down. So I guarantee you, look at the damage on Sprague's car. And I guarantee that Ernie will be coming in this time and changing some tires.
Heavy right front damage to that Staff America car. The crew comes out, but Benny, they got a lot of work to do down there.
Bob, they're trying to figure out where to start. I think they're starting to push it behind the wall. Now they decided, no, let's look at it some more. They're putting some gas in the car.
Greg was one of 3 cars involved in the incident. And look who's coming into the pits, Benny. Ward Burton is giving up 2nd position. Burton is on his way to pit road. Here's John Kernan for a report.
A big break, Bob, from Ward Burton. He thinks he may have a tire going down a right front, possibly. They're also going to check the air pressure on the left side tires to make sure he doesn't have a flat tire there, but the car was really pushing up when he went into the turns. So Ward Burton gets a big break with that caution flag as they'll go right side tires. They're checking the pressure now on that left front tire. They've also made a chassis adjustment on that left rear, trying to get that car handling properly. This Hardy's crew has worked very hard. Remember, he had to pit earlier for some damage. They had fought all the way back to 2nd place, and now he is down and away.
And as you mentioned, Benny, it was a big break for Ernie Irvin, who badly needed tires, and here he is getting them.
He's changing the right side tires. You know, you wonder why these guys wouldn't just change tires, 4 tires like they do in Winston Cup. Tonight, they can only change the right sides twice, the left sides once. That's all the tires that NASCAR will let them use tonight.
Ernie Irvin takes the Kodak car back out to the racetrack, and David Green is also in for some left side tires on the Slim Jim car.
Get the car up, the rear tire changer saying it wasn't high enough. His stop completed. He goes back out there. We see David Green. He's currently 2nd in the standings.
So a lot of pit action here under caution at IRP. We'll take a break and be right back with more of the NASCAR Kroger 200. Just 3 laps away from the halfway mark of the Kroger 200. It's Grissom, Houston, Nemechek, Todd Bodine, and Chad Little, the top 5.
Now let's see how these fellows that stopped and changed tires are going to be able to fare with these fellows who did not stop.
Here comes the field behind the pace car. There's Ernie Irvin way back in the
Ward Burton, who was running 2nd. We wonder why on earth he gave up all that track position, but he did.
The 97 car is Joe Vesey as the pace car pulls off, and we get set for a restart. The crowd rises once again. Steve Grissom leads them down, and we're back under green.
We can see Ward Burton, Ernie Irvin almost at the tail end of the field.
Look at Tommy Houston looking for the lead. There's Rodney Combs in number 1. Grissom holds off Houston's challenge for the moment, and here comes Joe Nemechek
trying to pass Tommy Houston. This is a deal where the passer gets past if he gets careful. Once again, Nemechek trying to get alongside Houston.
Down the backstretch and into turn number 3. Nemechek pulls alongside of Tommy.
Tommy Houston gives Nemechek a lot of room. And they go side by side. Nemechek went right over.
Now Nemechek inches his car ahead of Tommy Houston. Gets a half a car length on him at least, but they're side by side this time into 3.
And there we see Terry Labonte once again trying to chase down the leaders. He's, I think, 2 laps down right now.
Well, Nemechek grabs 2nd position at the halfway mark. Steve Grissom is the leader at the halfway mark, and now Nemechek tries to take over the lead. Todd Bodine, meanwhile, is working on Tommy Houston, and here comes Rodney Combs in 1. Nemechek may have the lead here off of turn number 4.
They are absolutely side by side. Terry Labonte's trying to figure out who to follow.
Now Nemechek passes Grissom and takes over first place. I can't believe how well that Labonte car is running now after it ran so poorly in the early going.
When they started the race, he was really poor. Stopped and changed 4 tires, made a huge chassis adjustment. You're right. Now he is as good as anyone.
Now, if he can get around Nemechek here and get a caution, he'll get another lap back. And, Troy Beebe spun again.
Here's a caution, and they're going to be racing back to the line. Let's see, can Labonte beat him? Or is the caution going to come out?
Yep.
Here comes Labonte.
And it's going to be close. He didn't do it.
No, he did not do it.
So Labonte does not get a lap back that time. Troy Beebe is stopped at the entrance to the backstretch off corner number 2. Boy, it's been a tough night for Troy, you know it?
Yeah, that's the 2nd time he's spun in the banana boat car.
Nemechek has taken the lead as the pace car catches up to him on the 103rd circuit out of 200. Nemechek is the leader as we take a look at the AutoZone race recap. We have 18 cars that are on the lead lap, 4 leaders, 4 lead changes, and so far 4 caution periods in this event. Those that have led, Ernie Irvan, Michael Waltrip, Irvan again, then Steve Grissom, and just a few laps ago, Joe Nemechek took command. As far as those who have dropped out of competition, Sammy Swindell was the first out, and most of the others have dropped out because of incidents on the racetrack, including Eric Gordon, Jeff Green, Nathan Butke, and Eddie Goodson. So it is Joe Nemechek who is leading under caution here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. You can see John Kernan there conferring with the DEN team crew, finding out how things are going for the current leader of the race, Nemechek. We'll take another break and be right back with more action from Indianapolis Raceway Park and the Kroger 200. Back at Indianapolis Raceway Park in the Kroger 200, Joe Nemechek, Steve Grissom, Tommy Houston, Todd Bodine, and Chad Little are the top 5 under caution just past the halfway mark. There are many things held in conjunction with this race here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. We take a look at the Joe Nemechek DEN team crew. They played a major role in last night's K&K Pit Crew Challenge. Look who was the catch can man on Ricky Craven's crew. Look at BP. Watch his footwork now. A little hot there.
I had to jump over the air hose because the right rear tire changer told me, don't stand on my hose. So I said, okay.
Now, the object is to change 2 right side tires and get fuel in the car and do it in as short a time as possible. Craven had a time of 17.957, but a major penalty for loose lug nuts. Now, here is Chad Little.
And this was a great pit stop, Bob. Chad Little's crew had the fastest time, 15.202 seconds, but had 1 loose lug nut. They penalized him 3 seconds for that.
Here comes Michael Waltrip bringing the Pennzoil car in for a stop. He, too, had a great stop, 16.533 seconds for Michael, and no penalties. He ended up second in the competition and the winner of $1,000. Good stop there by Michael Waltrip.
And that's not the Winston Cup crew that was pitting that car, but the Busch crew.
And here comes the eventual winner, Joe Nemechek. The crew going to work on it. He changed the 2 tires and got fuel in the car in 16.122 seconds.
And we see his dad over there simulating, cleaning the windshield. The guy crewing said, let's go.
Now here is Jack Sprague, and we want to draw your attention to the tire changer on the front. That's a tiny.
Big Rodney on the right front. He gets the tire off. He made a little bit of a boo-boo there. It was a little bit slow.
But now watch what happens when he comes to the front of the car and Jack begins to move away. Boom! Not only does Rodney get hit, but our cameraman also got hit, but neither one of them injured. Everybody's okay. Now watch again, ladies and gentlemen, the great footwork on this stop by Penny. Look at the little hop there.
And I have to put in the vent, I got to put the probe in there to open up the vent. And there's the winning crew with Lex Dudas, the general manager at IRP. Nemechek and the Beauty Queens.
$2,000 to Nemechek, and the Craven crew, well, they finished next to last, including Benny Parsons. The green flag comes out on lap number 108, and we are back to racing, and Nemechek is up front.
But look at Terry Labonte. He's back trying to get a lap back. He does. He has that lap back. And now only 1 down.
That's right. If we can get a caution right here in the next few laps, he'll be only 1 lap. Oh, little contact there between Mike Wallace and Nemechek in turn 4.
And Mike Wallace, another guy trying to get a lap back. He's tried and tried for the last 50 or 60 laps, and looks like he's going to do it this time, Bob.
Yeah, it sure does. Back in the pack, here comes Ernie Irvan, Jeff Burton, and Michael Waltrip as they weave their way through traffic, and that's Tracy Leslie in 72.
Todd Bodine in 34, Chad Little in the black 23. And remember, Ernie Irvan stopped just about 20, 30 laps ago and changed tires.
Oh, and Michael Waltrip has had a crash here on the main straightaway. The car down in turn number 1. He made contact with the inside guardrail. Wow.
There's our outside pole sitter, Michael Waltrip. Looks like some pretty heavy damage to the nose of that car, Bob.
He hasn't gotten out of the car yet. I hope he's okay because he hit the wall hard. There's a guardrail down on the inside of the racer. There it is. And that looks familiar to you, I'm sure, Benny, because right there is the entrance to the Fastmasters road course. And he just barely clipped the end of that guardrail. It's a good thing he didn't hit it square, or he probably would be injured, but it appears as if Michael Waltrip is okay.
I tell you what, I didn't see the crash, Bob, but let's see exactly what happened with Michael Waltrip to cause him to go in the infield. Here's Michael, the yellow car on the inside. He and Jeff Burton make some contact, and his car just turns left.
Now what, he misses this concrete wall, but comes around and hits the very end of that steel guardrail there at the entrance to the road course for Fastmasters. And there is Michael Waltrip climbing out of the car, waving to the crowd. He is okay, but boy, oh boy, he took a hard shot.
I tell you what, you're right. If he had moved in about 5 or 6 feet, there would have been some serious damage to that car and maybe to Michael Waltrip.
We have another angle that we're going to replay for you, see if we can determine exactly who made contact with Michael that sent him to the inside. Now, here he is coming off 4. That's Jeff Burton on the outside, and
I guarantee somebody down there shit their pants.
Yeah, there was a little bit of contact between Waltrip and Burton.
And there he goes and hits that guardrail and watch that photographer right there just gets covered up with dirt.
I'll bet he was getting out of there as quick as possible. Here's another angle.
There we see the 8 car. He has made contact with Michael already. The camera is going to sweep to the inside, catch Michael, and in all the dust, we barely can see him. We can see the photographer running.
Well, it's our 8th crash of the evening. Michael Waltrip is okay. We'll take a break and be back with more from Indianapolis Raceway Park.
Well, Bob, Michael Waltrip has made it back to the garage area. Michael, you're okay. What happened out there? It was a wild ride, wasn't it?
Yeah, I got under Jeff Burton, and he came over to crowd me, and my right front tire hit his left rear tire, and when tires hit each other, it just jerks the wheel out of your hand, or it broke a tie rod or something. After that, I had no control. I was just along for the ride, and unfortunately, there's about 6 foot of a wall in the way. If it hadn't have been there, I'd have eased back in here and got me some more tires and still be racing. But, you know, the Pennzoil Pontiac was stout. We would have had a good run, but one of those deals, as they say.
Yeah, you ran up front for quite a while. As you look out there now and see who's left, who do you think's got the best shot to win this thing?
Well, Ernie will be strong if he don't blow up. He's been smoking all night long. Nemechek's up front. That's where I kind of wish I'd have been. I wouldn't have gotten a wreck. And there's still a lot of strong cars, and a lot will go on before this race is over as far as who's going to win it. It'll be an exciting show. I'm going to sit around and watch, I think.
Well, Michael mentioned that if he'd have been 2 more feet to the right, he'd just put some fresh tires on and gone on. If he'd been 2 more feet to the left, he would have hit that guardrail head on, and he might be on his way to Methodist Hospital.
Exactly right. I think we need to point out that Terry Labonte, Mike Wallace, got their laps back on this caution play.
So now Terry is only 1 down. He was 3 laps down earlier in the event. And the field lines up for a restart here. Joe Nemechek is still the leader of the race. Grissom is second, followed by Tommy Houston. Then there is Tracy Leslie and Todd O'Dine.
Still a lot of cars on the lead lap. A lot of cars with an opportunity to win this race. We see Jack Sprague back on the racetrack, and Troy Beebe.
Troy Beebe has spun a couple of times, has had a rough night, but he's still in competition. Here comes the field off of turn number 4 for a restart. Back to racing in the Kroger 200. Lap number 116 is when the green comes out.
There's Ernie Irvin trying to work his way back to the front.
Chad Little is in 23. Rodney Combs is in 1. Nemechek lengthens his lead over Steve Grissom by 3 or 4 car lengths. Tracy Leslie is running 4th behind Tommy Houston. Oh, there go those cars again.
Man, this is the wildest shot I've ever seen in my life. Every time a car hits that camera, I duck. Here's Leslie trying to get on the inside of Houston.
Tracy Leslie looking for 3rd position here from Tommy Houston.
This is inside Ward Burton's car as he follows his brother, Jeff Burton, going by Shauna Robinson.
Here's Chad Little and some sparks coming from the underside of that car. Wonder what that's all about.
I don't know. He might be dragging a brake duck or something like that. Normally those things are made of aluminum that wouldn't spark, so I don't know what would be
Chad right now is running in 7th position. And that sparking problem doesn't seem to be slowing him down, but it looks like it's coming from right around the right front tire.
It is something about the right front. He's dragging the racetrack. And again, it's not a brake nut because they're normally made of aluminum and would not smart. And Tommy Houston up high against the guardrail gets passed by Ernie Irvin and now Tracy Leslie. Ernie Irvin, while we were watching Chad Little, did get by Tracy Leslie.
So now Irvin is in 3rd and Tracy Leslie takes 4th. Tommy Houston begins to drop back, and he got way up high on the racetrack there in turn number 3, allowing 2 cars to get under him.
Ernie Irvin trying to get back to the lead. Michael Walterson, and look how easy he pulls alongside Grissom and takes 2nd spot.
He did make it look easy. He is, I think, the fastest car on the racetrack right now.
Michael Waltrip mentioned in his interview that Ernie is smoking. I haven't been able to see any smoke coming out of that car, Bob.
No, I haven't seen any evidence of that, but of course, Waltrip was a lot closer to the car than we are up here in the broadcast booth. Now, here is Todd Bodine moving to the inside
and
of
some
Tommy
contact between he and Tommy Houston looked like going down in turn 1, but Todd backed off. The cars are back under control.
This is 5th and 6th, Houston and Bodine.
Here's a race for the lead. Ernie Irvin trying to take it away from Nemechek.
Led the first few laps of the race, lost it to Waltrip, got it back, made a pit stop, and he's worked his way back up to take the lead once again, or at least he's trying to take it away from Joe Nemechek. But Nemechek gamely fights back on the outside of the track, but I believe Ernie's going to get him as they go into turn 3.
I guess in sprint car terms, that would be a slide job there, right?
That's right. So Ernie Irvin has worked his way back to the lead. He was our pole sitter.
The sponsor on that car is the Kodak Fun Saver camera.
And Ward Burton is into another spin. That's at least his 2nd spin of the evening. Remember a little earlier he got the rear bumper of that car knocked off. This time he spins right in the middle of the field, but everybody avoids him.
And no one hit him. How in the world did that guy spin and no one hit him?
But it does bring out our 6th caution of the afternoon on lap number 125.
On the night. We're night racing now, Bob, not afternoon.
Okay.
Look outside. You see the sun anywhere?
No, I don't. It's a nice night here in Indianapolis. Nice and warm. Full moon out. And I think a lot of drivers will notice it as there's a full moon. Let's see if we... he was already going the wrong way on the track when we picked him up.
And he goes around. And look at these guys go inside, outside. And no one hit him. Looks like he might be going for the pits.
He's at the tail of the field and probably will be headed in for a pit stop. Here's Steve Brisson making a pit stop in that channel lock car.
Changing the right sides. Grissom using the Goodyear tire.
2 wins so far for Steve in the 1993 season.
And he just changed right sides. And that's not to say that these guys wouldn't change 4 tires, but most of these fellas aren't fast enough to change 4 tires and stay in the lead lap. So we see Todd Bodine in the Fiddle Fabric car change tires. And they're going to, just to make a liar out of him, they're going to change 4 tires. A little trouble getting the lug nut off. His brakes on fire, that's the smoke from the brakes.
And Bodine pulls out of the pits. And there is Ward Burton in for a change of rubber. We'll be back with more right after this. Stay with us. Bob Jenkins, Benny Parsons, and John Kernan back at Indianapolis Raceway Park tomorrow, just before our coverage of the Budweiser of the Glen. Join us for Speed Week. Now, here are the top drivers at the end of 128 laps. It's Irvin, Nemechek, Tracy Leslie, Robert Presley, and Larry Pearson in the top 5. Just about ready to go back to green. And by the way, Steve Brisson came in for another pit stop. He has 4 fresh tires on there. And look who is on the outside of the leader, Ernie Irvin. It is Terry Labonte, If he's able to get a lap back here, he will be back on the lead lap after being down 3 earlier. The green is out. It's lap 129.
Ward Burton, Steve Grissom, these guys that change tires will be going to the front as fast as they can because they'll be out-handling a lot of cars that stayed out and did not change tires. We'll see how much trouble they have going through the field, though.
Irvin begins to move away now from Labonte a little bit as they go over the tread cam once again.
Man, that's a wild shot.
Inside Ward Burton's car, that's Steve Grissom just ahead with 4 fresh tires. Tim Fedewa there on the right in car 55.
You see how easy these guys are able to pass good race cars with these fresh tires. That's Ricky Craven right in front of Ward Burton. There we see Ricky Craven. There's Grissom right in front of Craven, right behind Todd Bodine. We saw Todd Bodine in the pits changing 4 tires. Bob told you Steve Grissom came back in. He's changed 4 tires.
Tom Peck is in the 19 up high on the racetrack, and Jeff Burton is in the 8 car. A little rubbing there maybe between Grissom and Burton.
Tires make such a difference on these cars.
Boy, it's so obvious. Situation. Here is Presley and Leslie. And this is the battle for 3rd position.
Meanwhile, we go back. There we see the race with 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Larry Pearson is in 5th place right behind these 2 cars.
He's had a good race, too. Pearson started 17th. Here he comes inside of Troy Beebe. In the Stanley Tools 92.
A little rubbing that time between Tracy Leslie and Robert Presley. Leslie able to maintain the position. But Robert's going to try it one more time. And Tracy Leslie gave him the signal, said, hey, ease up a little bit.
Robert Presley goes to the low side in turn 4. Can't get the momentum. Oh, we have a spin. Tim Fedewa is sideways, getting the car headed in the right direction. That was in turn number 3. And caution number 7 does come out. And look at this. Labonte has gotten it by Ernie Irvin, and if he can beat him to the line, and he will, Labonte has made up 3 laps.
That is unbelievable. He's made up those 3 laps at this very, very tight, difficult racetrack. This is Tim Fedewa we're seeing here, the fellow who just spun, caused the caution flag, a young man out of Holt, Michigan. This is Ray and Diane DeWitt's automobile.
He was a 1991 ASA Rookie of the Year and finished 12th at Talladega in the most recent race.
And there's Terry Labonte. As we said, has made up 3 laps. He's going around to catch up the tail of the field.
Boy, what a story it would be if he could come back and win this race from 3 laps down. Well, Ernie Irvin is the leader of this race, and here he comes in for a pit stop. Ernie comes in. Let's go down to John Kernan. John.
Well, your leader is on pit road. Ernie Irvin pitting on the backstretch pits. He will come in. We anticipate a 4-tire change. We just told you how Ernie's crew was waiting for the next caution. With about 63 laps remaining in the event, Irvin will take on 4 tires. We don't anticipate any chassis adjustments. The car has run perfectly just about all night. The left side work is completed. They'll swing around now to the right side. Now they're doing it just a little bit backwards because of the way pit road is split up here on the back side. The guys who are pitting on the back side of pit road pit, as you see, with the passenger side or the right side of the car toward their pit crews, much like they do at Watkins Glen. Irvin, a pretty good pit stop. He is down and away.
Benny, again, we might explain this. The pits aren't actually on the back stretch. They are parallel to each other, but Ernie's is on the back side.
That's right, and it is a little bit of a disadvantage to these guys to have to turn and go to the back, but it's much better than having pits on the back straightaway.
So Ernie Irvin now catches up to the pack, which is forming after our 7th caution period of the evening. There's Jack Sprague, who is back in the race. Joe Nemechek has made a pit stop. Ernie Irvin has made a pit stop, and so is Tracy Leslie.
And there's Terry Labonte, who is now right behind Ernie Irvin in the lead lap.
Now the top 5 are Robert Presley, Larry Pearson, Hermie Sadler, Tommy Houston, and Todd Bodine with 138 laps completed. Flashbacks are brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. Here's John Kernan.
In an effort to get a better grip here at the short tracks, Goodyear has come up with a brand new tire. Now, this is the old racing radial. The tread width, 10 3/4 inches across. This is the brand new one. They've added an inch to it. It now measures across 11 3/4 inches. Now, this is a tire we're only going to see on the Busch series and also only at the short tracks. And its purpose, with the wider tread width, more tire on the racing surface, will give it a better grip.
All right, John, thank you very much. And the green flag is about to fly. We go back to competition on lap number 140. That's Robert Presley leading him down.
Oh, he and Rodney Combs get together as he takes the green flag. Rodney almost got in the fence as he's trying to get a lap back. Meanwhile, here's Hermie Sadler, who is third place.
Yep, third and fourth. Hermie, number 25, is third, and Houston is right behind him. Here's Presley, the lap car of Rodney Combs, between the leader and second place, Larry Pearson.
Hermie Sadler's been pretty impressive this year, Bob, as a rookie.
Houston trying to take third place away from him, however.
There's Tommy Houston, a good look at him. This is definitely the veteran and the rookie.
Boy, that's
Tommy
for
Houston
sure.
about, oh, if Todd go down and try to make it 3 abreast.
Sadler owns Sadler Auto Center in South Hill and is the youngest GM dealer in the country at 24 years of age, and he's a pretty fair race driver, too.
And I tell you what, Steve Grissom looked like he hit the wall. Oh! He did hit the wall that time, several times.
Grissom saves it, is passed by several, and we wonder how much damage was done to the right side of that car.
I tell you one thing, he certainly didn't do it any good. And look, Ernie Irvin is smoking.
Yeah, well, remember Michael Waltrip told us a long time ago that Ernie was smoking. We couldn't see it, but we do now.
But he's going again now. Oh, and he and Nemechek get together coming off. Man, there's action all around this racetrack, Bob.
I'm telling you. Here is Irvin. We'll see if we see that smoke again.
Meanwhile, Steve Grissom, who hit the wall just a moment ago.
Here it is.
Here he is going down in turn 3. He pulls up on the outside of Houston. This is going down the back straightaway. I'm sorry. Yep. I thought he hit the wall back here when the car...
Well, maybe he did, but he hit it harder here.
Yeah, they're going in the third corner. Tommy Houston, I don't think, realizes that Steve is on the outside of it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. He doesn't know he's there. He comes up. Steve, trying to avoid Tommy, gets in the wall.
Grissom, a former leader of this race here tonight. Another angle.
Yeah, we can see Tommy go up, and Steve trying to avoid Tommy Houston gets in the wall, and gets it pretty good a couple of times.
And while this is happening, Benny, Tracy Leslie has spun. And we have the 8th caution of the evening out. Tracy Leslie doing a quick spin, enough to bring out a caution. He didn't hit anything, but it does bring out the 8th caution of the evening.
I was watching the monitor, watching Steve Grissom. I didn't even see Tracy Leslie spin.
Don't think he hurt the car in any way, but once again, we are under caution, and the field is behind the pace car. And here is Leslie coming in for a pit stop now. He's had a good race. Running in the top 5 when the spin occurred.
Looks like they're going to change at least right sides on the car. Well, they're looking. They're turning the wheel, I don't know if they're looking for flat spots, Bob. That's what they're looking for. NASCAR will let them change the tires if they're flat spotted. But since they were not, he could not change those tires.
Good call. So the Detroit gasket car pulls back out onto the racetrack. You also saw Jeff Burton in for a stop. Leslie is back out there.
And that's an Oldsmobile. Some of his cars are Chevrolets. This particular car is an Oldsmobile.
Just a little more than 50 laps to go. It's Presley, Pearson, Sadler, Bodine, and Houston running in the top 5. And we anticipate going back to green here very shortly from, you can see the lights on top of the pace car are out, so we'll be going back to racing in just a moment.
How does that camera take these cars running over time and time again?
Yeah, it's spring-loaded, but boy, it's taken a lot of punishment tonight. You know, normally on Saturday Night Thunder, when the open-wheel cars are out here, they generally run a line above that camera, but these cars run right over it.
Looks like most of their lines are right over those cameras.
Yeah.
Once again, Rodney Combs, the white number 1, trying to get a lap back from our leader, Robert Presley. 59 is Presley, 92 Larry Pearson, 25 is Hermie Sadler.
And once again, on the restart, the crowd rises, and the green flag is out. You want to say something about Shauna?
I just want to say that was Shauna Robinson in the 35 car. Just point that out.
And you know, Shauna is really reaching down deep inside tonight because her father passed away earlier today. She learned of it just before the race began. Said that her father would want her to continue to compete tonight, and shows she is in the race and running a very strong race, as a matter of fact. But you know, she's got a lot on her mind.
And I guarantee you he would want that because he was Shauna Robinson's biggest supporter.
Robert Presley stretching it out over Larry Pearson. Here comes Todd Bodine bidding for second position.
He's on the inside of, and he just takes a spot away with ease. Now he is in second place. I'm sorry, Bob.
Yep, Bodine now sets his sights on the leader.
Steve Grissom, even though he hit the wall back there, still running pretty strong.
Sure is. Sadler, Grissom, and Craven battle for position, and another spin up in turn number 2.
And Rodney Combs, some heavy damage to the front of that car.
And like Ward Burton earlier, he gets the back bumper of the car knocked off, but he has also some severe damage in the right part of that car, in the front part of it.
And Ernie Irvin in the pits. Is he going to change some tires again, Bob? He turns left. He's headed for the truck.
Oh, he almost runs into a guy who's standing there. But yeah, Irvin pulls out of the race. I wonder what the deal is. We'll get John Kernan down there to find out. Meanwhile, Rodney Combs jumps out of the number 1 machine. He's okay. But boy, our question is, what happened to Ernie Irvin? It's probably a problem that has resulted, or at least manifested itself in the smoke that we saw. And there you can see John arriving on the scene. We should have a report from him in a few minutes. This is way back in the middle part of the infield. There isn't much light down there.
Let's see if we can see there. Ernie Irvin is going by the wreck. And we see David Green. Now who's going to hit the back of the car? Tim Fedewa goes by and knocks off the rear bumper on the Luxair heating and air conditioned Ford.
And here it is from another angle, Benny.
He's coming down the hill, down the racetrack, and we can see Fedewa goes by, just barely hits the thing, knocks off the rear bumper.
And Mike Wallace just barely escaped not hitting him. Well, let's go down now. Here comes Larry Pearson onto the racetrack. Let's go down to John Kernan, who's caught up with Ernie Irvin.
Ernie has climbed out of the Kodak Films Chevrolet, and Ernie, you were right where you needed to be. It's about 65 laps to go in the race. You had 4 fresh tires, and then boom, something has to break.
Well, you know, Carl Wagner and them guys did a great job putting this motor together. You're only supposed to run them about 8,100, and I was running 8,500, so just a little too many RPMs for the Fun Saver Chevrolet.
Do you call this, I guess, a learning experience? Because I know you guys are running a very tall gear here.
Well, you know, it's just one of them deals where we didn't have a quick change in the car. We couldn't get the gear we actually needed. So it's not a Winston Cup effort, so you got to use what you can get.
Ernie Irvin is out of the race. Presley, Bodine, Houston, Sadler, and Craven are the top 5. Back at Indianapolis Raceway Park in the Kroger NASCAR 200 Busch Grand National Race, the fans are loving it here tonight. But they're also remembering the 2 Winston Cup drivers that we have lost this year in aircraft accidents, Davey Allison and Alan Kulwicki.
And fans, I miss them too very, very much.
We come back to green on lap 157. It's Robert Presley leading Todd Bodine to the green flag.
Tommy Houston, Hermie Sadler, Ricky Craven, and Steve Grissom trying to go by Craven on the outside.
Okay, Benny.
3 abreast. They go by Shauna, and no.
They survived. All right, we've got a little less than 50 laps to go. Look at Grissom. Comes off of corner number 4 sideways. Who has got the best setup here, Benny, for the remainder of this race?
Well, I think the question is who has the best tires. And I think Ward Burton has some good tires. Robert Presley probably is going to, his tires are a little bit worn. I think Nemechek, Ward Burton, probably these two cars have tires as good as anyone.
And Todd Bodine is pressing Robert Presley.
And really pressing. Ooh, a little bit of a bump there.
Bodine let him know that he was back there. It gives him a little bit of a nudge coming off the corner, and now into 3 they go side by side. This is the battle for the lead.
And Bodine bumped again.
Oh, good old Saturday night racing, huh? Both of them want the lead. And meanwhile, Tommy Houston has caught up and now makes it a 3-car battle for the lead.
Presley come off that second corner awfully low. Now Todd Bodine had an awfully good run on Presley just a moment ago. Can he do it again? Look how low Presley comes off this corner. That's the line that he likes to run. When Todd Bodine gets under him, that really affects him, moves him up high on the racetrack, slows his car down.
Tommy Houston is running in 3rd position. This is his best race of the year so far. His best finish in 93 has been a 4th at Hickory.
He only lives about 10 miles from Hickory Motor Speedway, so that was a good run at home for Tommy Houston.
Craven now begins to close in on Houston.
He does that. Has the DuPont Chevrolet running well.
And here's Hermie Sadler and Bobby Hamilton.
And there's Hermie Sadler, who almost got in the wall just a little bit ago, let these cars get by. And I tell you what, Sadler did a great job in missing the wall up there.
Got into the marbles and got sideways, but saved it and didn't do any damage to the car. There are your top 4, Presley, Bodine, Houston, and Sadler.
Todd had a run just a few laps ago. Right now doesn't seem to be able to catch Robert Presley. And Ricky Craven has pulled up on the back bumper of Tommy Houston. So now we see Ward Burton trying to get by Steve Grissom. Also Nemechek trying to go by on the outside of Ward Burton.
Good battle for 5th and 6th position. Nemechek up high, Ward Burton down low. Grissom leads the trio, and there's David Green and Terry Labonte.
Terry Labonte's back in the mix. Maybe I should have picked Labonte to win this thing a few laps ago.
Well, I tell you, he has had a strong night after a very slow beginning. Back with more from IRP in just a moment. The Kroger 200 Busch Grand National Race continues from Indianapolis Raceway Park, and we still have a great battle up front. Todd Bodine trying to get the lead away from Robert Presley. He's been trying to do that for several laps, and now he does, coming off the 4th corner.
He got Presley's groove coming off that corner and able to get, and Presley bumps in the back of Todd Bodine.
Sideways.
He gets Bodine sideways. Now he cuts up the 3 abreast as he come off the corner. And
3 cars into the wall, including Presley and Bodine. Ricky Craven is in the wall. Oh, and Steve Grissom takes a hard shot from somebody. I don't know who it was, but he got
Larry Pearson that ran in the back of Steve Grissom.
Yeah, there he is.
And there's Pearson's car, and it's on fire.
I hope Larry gets out of that car because he hit Steve Grissom very, very hard. There's Presley rolling, but he has severe damage to that car. We still don't see Larry Pearson. And Todd Bodine, there he is with fire under his car.
And the guy's running down to Larry Pearson. It looks like that he's helping him out of the car. Yes,
yeah.
Larry's getting out of the car.
Pearson is okay. Wow. At least the first 2 taken out. There is Todd Bodine. He's okay. We hope Steve Grissom is, because he got hit hard in the back of the car. Here it is again.
We can see Presley that in the back bumper of the Todd Bodine car. Bodine gets a little bit sideways, does a great job saving it. Now there's Troy Beebe, and these cars are going to split Beebe. As they come off the corner, Presley comes up, puts Beebe up right in the side of Todd Bodine, and Beebe hits the right rear quarter of Presley's car, and all 3 cars crash. And here's Tommy Houston going down.
Oh, he had a light pole there.
Did you see the pieces of glass fall out of the light pole?
He hit the thing so hard it knocked out a bulb or something. Again, from another angle. Presley on the inside of Beebe and Bodine, and all three of them go into the wall.
Man, oh man, the two leaders of the race, and here comes Nemechek, goes right by and gets by safely. And we'll watch other cars as they go by. Now Presley comes back across. Ricky Craven in the wall on the outside.
There's Grissom in the blue car. Now watch. Pearson hits him hard in the rear end of the car.
Man, oh man, did he hit him hard.
Terry Labonte gets through okay.
And Grissom's car also has some fire under it, Bob. Here's another angle there. We see Tommy Houston come down and hit the light pole.
Yeah, it was behind the scoreboard there, so you couldn't see it very well, but Houston did hit one of those light poles. There's Labonte going to the inside and avoiding all the wreckage. Boy, that was some wreck, and it happened at the front of the field, of course.
Took out some serious leaders of the race as we see Larry Pearson walking back towards the infield area, the garage area.
We have just a little more than 25 laps to go in this event. And they have a lot of work to do out there on the racetrack to get the cars off and the debris cleaned up. Presley continues to sit in his car, but I don't know whether he's going to be able to continue or not.
If he goes back out there, he will certainly be at that reduced rate of speed because he hit the outside wall hard.
Presley and Todd Bodine were battling for the lead when the crash occurred. John Kernan has found Todd Bodine down there. John, let's hear what Todd has to say.
Bob, the good news, Todd, after that crash, has climbed out. He's walked back toward the transporters. And, Todd, you're okay. This was an incident that you saw when you came out of turn 2. You knew it wasn't going to work when you guys came out of there 3 wide. But actually, some of the banging started a little bit before that.
Well, yeah, you know, me and Robert were racing real hard. And I got in the back of him a couple times, you know, nothing intentional, nothing real hard, nothing to get him too out of shape. And, you know, I think he thought it was intentional. And, you know, when I finally got by him, he got in the back of me a little bit and got me sideways. I don't think he meant to do it that hard. I think he just meant to give me a love tap and let me know he was pissed off. But, you know, it's hard racing. And I got a little sideways and collected it back and got on the outside of Troy Beebe. And evidently Robert had gotten under him, and we all kind of collected in the wall off it, too. You know, it's really nobody's fault. It's just a shame it happened. We took out 3 good cars, and, you know, Steve Grissom was a victim of circumstances, and I feel sorry for him. But, you know, it was good, hard racing.
Glad to hear there are no hard feelings. The red flag is being waved so they can clean up all this debris. Let's get the other side of the story. Here once again is John Kernan.
Well, Robert, you and Todd were out there racing pretty hard, a little bit of contact. You guys came out of turn 2 3 wide. You just knew on this racetrack something had to give, and it did.
Oh, yeah, you know, this racetrack's tight anyway, and we were just out there, you know, Todd had a good car, and, you know, passing here is so hard, and track position means everything. And Todd got in me a couple times, went off in the corner. You know, I don't know if he just thought I was going to hit him or what, but he braked me a little bit. But, you know, heck, it ain't nothing I hadn't done to him 10 laps before that. So we come off of the corner there, and he got a little loose, and I got under Troy, and, you know, Troy's probably out there in another world, and he just didn't see what was even going on, or, you know, maybe his spotter wasn't telling him where he was at. But, you know, it's just some close racing.
Just a typical Saturday night at the Speedway, right?
Just Saturday Night Thunder.
Right you are. 25 laps to go now. The red flag is out to clean up the debris. And there are the top 10 in the Kroger 200 Busch Grand National race from Indianapolis Raceway Park. We'll be back with more right after this. The debris has been cleaned up, the wreckage has been cleared, and we are set to go back to racing. 177 laps will be completed here. The green coming out on 178. It is Joe Nemechek up front with Ward Burton, Tracy Leslie, David Green, and Terry Labonte.
Terry Labonte certainly not out of this race, coming from 3 laps down. Oh! Jeff Burton almost lost the car as he came off the second corner. He's trying to get by Tim Fiedler in the black 55.
There's Mike Wallace moving to the outside of Jeff Burton, and Bobby Hamilton is there also.
I see Ricky Craven back there, so evidently his damage was not too severe in the crash. Back coming off the second corner a few laps ago, just before the red flag.
What a story Ward Burton has been in this race as we see his brother Jeff in number 8. Ward is running in second position right there behind Nemechek. John Kernan is in his pit.
Well, Bob, Bob, you know, Ward Burton has had his share of problems all night. Right now, he finds himself in second place. They've done a good job of getting that car back up near the front, but another potential problem. Ward is radioed in. He says he doesn't have a lot of brake pedal pressure, so he's having to drive it very, very carefully, lifting just a little bit sooner when he enters into the corner. What he has told his crew is that he is barely hanging on right now. Ward Burton close to being out of brakes.
No, I don't think I'd like to do this without any brakes.
I don't think I would either, because I tell you, when these guys go in the corner, Bob, they're hitting the brake. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no brakes, did John say?
That's exactly what happened. He got in the back of Nemechek as they went into turn 3, spinning Joe around. He has damage on the rear of that car now, and another caution flag comes out.
Nemechek gets the car going, but we can see some pretty serious damage to the back of the car. And this is Ward Burton.
Now here it is.
Going in turn 3, and we can see Ward Burton. John reported his brakes a little soft. He goes up, makes contact with Nemechek. These two cars make contact. And look, Tracy Leslie goes by on the inside, takes the lead of the race. One more time.
From another angle, this from our camera located at the end of the backstretch.
And Ward goes in and just a little bit of contact, and that's all he needs at that point. He bounces off the wall, and he does have brakes because we saw the left front tire locked up.
Doesn't take much to get these cars sideways, and that's exactly what happened. Here it is from the in-car camera. You can see how he came up too quickly on Nemechek, sent him into the wall, then hit him, and lost the lead in second place to Tracy Leslie.
There's a shot at Ward Burton, and there's a shot at Joe Nemechek right beside of him.
Ward's waving. I don't know if he used as many fingers as as Ward did on that one or not. But anyway, the crowd is loving it. We have seen all kinds of action here at IRP tonight in this Busch Grand National race, and we are set to go back to competition. We're again riding with Ward Burton,
who's third,
behind Tracy Leslie and David Green. And Terry Labonte is fourth. Fifth, I believe, is Speedowa.
I thought Mike Wallace was in the lead lap, but anyway, they're racing. Mike Wallace is racing Speedowa for that fifth spot right now.
You're right. And they are side by side as they head into one. And now Tracy Leslie, who has never won a Busch Grand National race, is in the lead. And Wallace and Speedowa continue to slug it out. There's Bobby Hamilton.
Oh!
He has contact. And now Craven almost spins Wallace.
And that's heavy. Two cars spin and heavy contact in inside retaining wall. That's Hermie Sadler that's moving, and Tom Peck's car still sitting up against the inside retaining wall.
Well, for those of you who are with us on the very first Saturday Night Thunder telecast, you'll remember how Jim McElreath and Dick Trickle got tangled up coming off of turn number 4, and these cars end up in just about the same place.
That was the Jaguars, those $750,000 cars.
You remember Bassmasters, Benny, or do you want to?
I don't want to remember it. All I want to talk about is Hermie Sadler. Here's Bobby Hamilton coming off the corner. Mike Wallace gets a tap from Craven, almost missed, but look, Bobby Hamilton hits the wall. These other guys try to dodge him and go down and hit the inside wall. Maybe we'll have a better angle to watch this. But
Sadler drives on. Peck stays there. Yeah, I think we'll be able to see here, Ben.
Yeah, this is a better angle. We can see Bobby Hamilton in the wall. Now these guys come along, and Sadler and Peck get together and just both turn left, go down, hit the inside wall.
Hard contact by Tom Peck on the right side of the car, and rear end contact on the Hermie Sadler car. He drove away. Peck is being loaded onto a record. But Peck is out of the car. He's okay, and this should be a short yellow. We should be able to go back to green momentarily. 191 laps completed. 9 to go. Here comes the green flag once again. Leslie still has the lead with Green second and Ward Burton third, and watch Mike Wallace.
Just 8 laps to go. 8 laps for Tracy Leslie. You know he has to be as nervous as he ever has in his life. This is a former ARCA champion, Tracy Leslie, in the Detroit Gasket Oldsmobile.
He won the ARCA Championship in 1988. He drove his first race in 1975. He's a former track champion at Mount Clemens and in Toledo.
Ron Parker, the owner of the car, the spotter for the car. I know he's as nervous as he can be, too. As we see David Green, Ward Burton racing for that second spot.
Riding with Ward Burton as he tries to get second.
He probably won't get as close to David Green as he did to Joe Nemechek just a few laps ago.
They're the first 5 cars running right together. Labonte fourth and Fedewa is fifth. Now Leslie has a pretty good lead, Benny.
He's got a 5 or 6 car length lead. 5 to go. That's Becky Phillips, the coordinator for Detroit Gasket, telling the crew 5 to go.
The battle, good battle, is behind him. Second, third, and fourth spots being contested. Ward Burton, who has had an unbelievable evening, and so is Terry Labonte.
Labonte hasn't been as uneventful as Ward Burton's, though. Once again, Tracy Leslie.
You mentioned Ron Parker, the owner of the car. You were instrumental in getting him into racing, weren't you?
I used to work for Ron Parker, selling Detroit Gasket, and you know, he had never been to a race before I started working for him. Now he's an owner in the Busch Series.
And he may be seeing his driver win his first Grand National race as we continue to follow this battle for second, third, and fourth. There once again is Becky Phillips, the racing coordinator for this team.
She's got a monkey in the pits. I think they must be ready to throw that monkey off their back.
Remember when Harry Gant did that at Darlington? They may be doing the same thing in Victory Lane if he should wind up there. Labonte making a bid for third here on Ward Burton.
And Tim Fedewa was right behind. He was trying to get by Labonte just a lap ago. Meanwhile, back to the lead. Here comes Tracy Leslie, David Green.
Labonte gets third, but Burton battles back.
He comes back. They're side by side. Once again, Terry Labonte gets a run.
Yeah, I think he's got it this time.
But Burton comes back.
Wow.
And look at Fedewa. He wants to make it 3 abreast. White flag.
One more lap to go for Tracy Leslie, and he'll win his first Busch Grand National race of his career. Now Labonte has that third spot from Ward Burton, and Tim Fedewa is looking for an opportunity to pass Ward Burton. Meanwhile, Tracy Leslie is in turn 3, now in turn number 4. Here he comes off the 4th turn, and Tracy Leslie wins the Kroger 200 at Indianapolis Raceway Park. There's 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Labonte, Ward Burton, and Tim Fedewa.
And the crew is happy, happy.
It's been an unbelievable race here tonight, and the winner is Tracy Leslie. We'll be back to talk with him in a moment. ESPN Speed World is being brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. By Allied Signals Pram Filters, you can pay a little now or a lot later. By your local Yamaha dealer, who invites you to see their exciting line of motorcycles, ATVs, and water vehicles. And by Subway, the place where fresh is the taste. Well, there is Victory Lane, and Tracy Leslie is in it.
Yeah, he's right on top of his car.
There's the monkey.
He threw that monkey away, didn't he?
Threw it on the front stretch. Here's the final rundown. David Green was second, followed by Terry Labonte, Ward Burton. Mike Wallace was sixth. Ricky Craven, Jeff Burton, Bobby Hamilton, and Tommy Houston comes back to finish in 10th.
You see Hermie Sadler back in 13th after that crash on the front stretch. Robbie Stanley, a Saturday Night Thunder driver, finished in 15th.
Steve Grissom was a former leader. He finished in 20th position. Todd Bodine, 19th.
Chuck Bound back in 22nd, a former winner. And Ernie Irvin, our pole sitter, finished 24th. Michael Waltrip, the outside pole, front row, finished 29th.
And finally, Nathan Butke, Jeff Green, Eric Gordon, and Sammy Swindell complete the full field rundown.
Well, Tracy Leslie, your best career finish in Busch Grand National came here at this racetrack 2 years ago. Tonight, you dodge all kinds of wrecks out there. You come away with your first career Busch Grand National victory. Got the monkey off your back, didn't you?
Boy, I tell you, it's been around there a long time, and we just didn't know if we were going to get it off. We had a little help with one of the Flintstone characters in the car tonight. And maybe Pebbles, beat a monkey off our back.
Tell me about how the race. How were you able to avoid all those wrecks and things out there?
I tell you, the car just worked super. You know, Ernie was working good on the bottom. A couple cars were working real good on the bottom. We happened to be one of them. You know, we set our car up 2 years ago to run on the bottom. Unfortunately, last year we broke and didn't really have a good race at the end of the year. But you know, tonight we just set that car up again to work on the bottom, and because we knew, you know, from being here 3 years ago running second, you got to work on the bottom to get around this place. Even though the faster groove's tough, the faster line, the bottom groove is where you got to get by everybody. And you know, we set it up, and it was Banjo Matthews' car, and Robert Reeves, my crew chief, built the engine. We do our engines in-house, and never had a problem with the gasket, and the brakes stayed on good, so the sponsors are happy, and we're doing a good job tonight.
Yeah, very, very happy. Tracy Leslie coming away with his very first Busch Grand National victory.
Our congratulations to Tracy and all the Detroit Gasket team. There's Ron Parker, who bought this team from L.D. Ottinger a few years ago. And there is Shauna Robinson, who had her best performance of '93, finishing 12th here tonight, doing so knowing that her father passed away just a few hours ago. Our hats off to Shauna Robinson and our condolences. We had a full moon here at Indianapolis Raceway Park tonight and a lot of action. It reflects a change in the lead as far as Grand National points are concerned. David Green now has the lead by 4 over Steve Grissom. Coming up next, the USAC Sprint Cars at Winchester on Saturday Night Thunder. In-car cameras provided by CarQuest. For your nearest CarQuest store, call 1-800-492-PART. Once again, Tracy Leslie wins the Kroger 200. For John Kernan and Benny Parsons, I'm Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone.